December 14, 2025, a date that will be remembered as a turning point in modern history. In newsrooms across the globe, journalists scramble to cover a story that is already sending shockwaves through the international community. On this day, 10 Asian capitals simultaneously broadcast a joint statement, the Jakarta Declaration, an unprecedented move that redraws the map of global influence and signals a new era for the continent. This is no routine diplomatic maneuver, it's a seismic shift, a deliberate step away from the shadow of the United States, and a bold assertion of regional autonomy. The world watches as the balance of power begins to tilt. The signatories, Japan, South Korea, the Philippines, Thailand, Malaysia, Indonesia, Singapore, Vietnam, Cambodia, and Laos, represent a diverse tapestry of cultures, economies, and histories. Yet today, they stand united, committing to a policy of principled non-alignment, refusing to be drawn into the escalating rivalry between the US and China. The message is unmistakable: the era of uncontested American primacy in Asia is over. As the American flag is lowered outside embassies, financial markets react with uncertainty, and analysts scramble to interpret the implications. These nations, once divided by history and politics, are now forging a new path together. They are done being pawns in a great power game, determined to chart their own course and protect their own interests. Their vision is clear: a future shaped by regional priorities, economic growth, technological innovation, and cultural exchange, rather than the dictates of distant superpowers. Massive infrastructure projects and new trade corridors are already in the works, signaling a commitment to self-reliance and cooperation. The immediate trigger for this historic declaration: the United States' abrupt withdrawal from the Trans-Pacific Partnership 2.0, a move widely seen as a sign of unreliability and shifting American priorities. The vacuum left behind has forced Asian leaders to rethink their alliances and strategies. Years of quiet negotiations, back-channel diplomacy, and growing frustration with external interference have finally culminated in this bold, collective step. The Jakarta Declaration is the result of months, if not years, of careful planning and shared resolve. Among its most ambitious proposals, the Jakarta Declaration calls for the creation of a regional digital currency, aiming to reduce dependence on the US dollar. It also demands the renegotiation of all existing US military agreements, signaling a desire for greater sovereignty and control over regional security. This isn't just another diplomatic statement, it's a fundamental restructuring of the post-World War II global order. For the first time in decades, Asia is asserting itself as a unified bloc, ready to challenge the status quo. The world is watching with bated breath. Is this a calculated bluff, a negotiating tactic, or the genuine beginning of a new world order? Leaders from every continent are tuning in, aware that the consequences will be far-reaching. The US dollar and long-standing military alliances, once the bedrock of Asia's security and prosperity, are now being openly challenged. The financial and strategic implications are enormous, with ripple effects already being felt in global markets. From the bustling streets of Tokyo to the rising skylines of Jakarta and Hanoi, Asia is taking control of its own destiny. The aftershocks of this decision are reverberating across continents, forcing governments and corporations alike to rethink their strategies. The question now looms large: what happens next? As the world holds its breath, one thing is certain: Asia's new dawn has arrived, and nothing will ever be the same again. For the Philippines, the Jakarta Declaration marks a profound turning point, an official end to a turbulent era defined by its complex relationship with its former colonial ruler, the United States. This declaration is more than just a diplomatic document, it's a symbol of a nation's desire to chart its own course in a rapidly changing world. For decades, the Philippines navigated a delicate balance, hosting American military bases and relying on US security guarantees, even as memories of colonial rule lingered. The presence of US troops was both a reassurance and a reminder of lost sovereignty. Security concerns have always been at the forefront. Increasingly, Manila began to see its alliance with Washington not as a shield, but as a potential liability, one that could draw the country into conflicts not of its own making and limit its freedom to act independently. The situation reached a breaking point when Washington hesitated to defend Philippine-claimed territories in the South China Sea. This perceived lack of commitment was the final straw, fueling public protests and a growing sense of vulnerability. In response, Manila has shifted its strategy. Rather than relying solely on distant powers, it now seeks peace and stability through direct engagement with its neighbors, including China. This approach is rooted in dialogue, economic cooperation, and a pragmatic assessment of regional realities. Thailand, too, is undergoing a similar transformation. Frustrated by years of US pressure and eager to reclaim its sovereignty, Bangkok is reasserting its independence on the world stage, seeking new partnerships and a more balanced foreign policy. Both the Philippines and Thailand are moving away from rigid, one-sided alliances. Instead, they are embracing flexible regional cooperation through organizations like ASEAN, where dialogue and consensus building take precedence over military pacts. For the United States, the loss of access to key military bases in the Philippines and Thailand is a devastating blow. These bases were once cornerstones of America's Indo-Pacific strategy, enabling rapid deployment and regional influence. Now, the Pentagon faces a daunting challenge. It must completely rethink its posture in the Indo-Pacific. Old assumptions no longer hold, and new strategies must be developed to adapt to a more complex, multipolar environment. This shift isn't just about losing traditional allies. It's about losing strategic depth and the ability to project power across the region. The U.S. must grapple with a new reality where its influence is no longer guaranteed. In this emerging order, security is no longer the responsibility of a single superpower. Instead, it is a shared endeavor, with Asian nations taking the lead in shaping their own future and managing regional risks together. The era of Cold War alliances is fading. In its place, pragmatic regional frameworks are rising, built on mutual respect, shared interests, and the recognition that cooperation, not confrontation, is the path forward. Today, the United States is no longer seen as the region's sole security guarantor. Instead, Asian nations are stepping up, forging a new security architecture that reflects their own priorities and aspirations for peace. Malaysia's pivot is about economic sovereignty, escaping the grip of the US dollar and Western financial institutions. Years of volatility and sanctions have made Malaysian leaders wary. The Jakarta Declaration's alternative financial architecture is of vital national interest. Indonesia, Southeast Asia's largest economy, is focused on digital sovereignty. Jakarta wants control over its data and digital economy, challenging US tech dominance. The regional digital currency aims to reduce dollar dependence and boost intra-Asian trade. China is supporting this push, offering technology and investment through its digital Silk Road. Chinese tech giants are building the region's digital infrastructure. For Malaysia and Indonesia, this is a chance to leapfrog technologically and assert independence. The economic order is shifting. Asia is building systems that serve its own interests. The US-dominated era of finance and technology is fading. A new digital and economic future is taking shape in Asia. Vietnam's move is pragmatic hedging, wary of China, but more wary of being America's front line. Hanoi sees more leverage in a unified Asian bloc than in choosing sides. Cambodia's path is clear full alignment with China, cemented by investment and political support. Both nations, despite different strategies, are turning away from Washington. Vietnam seeks collective strength. Cambodia seeks prosperity under Beijing's wing. The US failed to offer a compelling vision for diverse partners. Across the region, memories of Cold War proxy wars fuel a desire for neutrality. The Jakarta Declaration is a bid to avoid becoming battlegrounds again. It's a declaration of independence from great power conflict. Asia is determined to chart its own course. Singapore's decision is a calculated pivot, pragmatism over sentiment. As a global financial hub, Singapore sees its future tied to a rising Asia, not a wavering America. The Jakarta Declaration's economic vision is appealing: regional digital currency, streamlined trade, and a central role for Singapore. Security-wise, hosting U.S. assets has become risky amid U.S.-China tensions. Singapore now seeks a collective security arrangement, moving from alliance to neutrality. Renegotiating U.S. military access signals a shift to regional cooperation. This is a clear-eyed vote of no confidence in America's future role. Singapore's pivot is a bellwether. The Asian century is becoming reality. The world must take notice. The world watched in disbelief as Japan and South Korea, two of America's closest allies in Asia, made the unprecedented decision to join the Jakarta Declaration. This move sent shockwaves through diplomatic circles, as few could have predicted such a dramatic shift in the region's balance of power. For decades, these nations stood shoulder to shoulder with the United States, their partnership seen as unbreakable. For over 70 years, Japan and South Korea were the pillars of America's security system in Northeast Asia. U.S. military bases dotted their landscapes, and joint military exercises were a regular display of unity and strength. These alliances were the bedrock of regional stability, deterring threats and projecting American influence across the Pacific. Now both countries are breaking away from this long-standing arrangement. Japan, facing a crisis of confidence in its security guarantees, has begun to question whether it can continue to rely on the U.S. South Korea, meanwhile, is seeking new paths to peace with the North, hoping that regional cooperation might finally bring an end to decades of tension on the peninsula. The motivations are complex, but the message is clear. The old alliances are no longer enough. Both nations are increasingly weary of U.S. political instability, which has made long-term commitments uncertain. Economic pressure from Washington to decouple from China has also strained relations, as both Japan and South Korea depend heavily on trade with their giant neighbor. The shifting tides of global politics have left them searching for new strategies to secure their futures. The Jakarta Declaration offers a new vision, one that emphasizes regional trade, collective risk management, and a shared commitment to peace and prosperity. By joining this framework, Japan and South Korea hope to strengthen their economies and security through deeper integration with their Asian neighbors, rather than relying solely on distant partners. The consequences for the United States are profound. With the loss of its forward bases in Japan and South Korea, America's ability to project power near China and the Taiwan Strait is severely crippled. These bases were not just military outposts, they were symbols of American commitment and deterrence in the region. Now, as military installations are dismantled and the U.S. flag is lowered, the security umbrella that defined East Asia for generations has vanished almost overnight. The sense of certainty and protection that once prevailed is gone, replaced by a new era of uncertainty and opportunity. Japan and South Korea are choosing to invest in regional frameworks, forging new alliances and partnerships with their Asian neighbors. This marks a fundamental shift away from reliance on U.S.-led security arrangements and toward a more independent, Asia-centric approach to diplomacy and defense. For the Pentagon, this is nothing short of a strategic catastrophe. Military planners and analysts are left scrambling to reassess America's role in the region, as the loss of these key allies undermines decades of careful strategy and investment. American military power is now forced to retreat to less effective positions, farther from the flashpoints that matter most. The logistical and strategic challenges of operating at greater distances will make it harder for the U.S. to respond quickly to crises or deter aggression in East Asia. In this new landscape, the region's security will be shaped by Asian nations themselves. They will have to navigate old rivalries and new partnerships, forging a path forward without the familiar presence of American power. The old order, built on treaties and alliances that once seemed unbreakable, is now gone. Headlines around the world declare the end of an era, as the symbols of past partnerships are quietly retired. In its place, a new balance is emerging, one defined by Asian leadership, regional cooperation, and the promise of a future shaped by those who call this dynamic region home. The Jakarta Declaration is more than a series of exits, it's a shared vision for Asia's future. For the first time, diverse Asian nations are asserting autonomy and regional leadership. This is the Asian century, taking political form, the principle active, principled non-alignment, engaging all powers, but on Asia's terms. The goal, a multipolar system where no one is forced to choose sides. Regional solutions for regional problems, security, disaster relief, and health are now priorities. The US-led alliance system is being replaced by consensus and cooperation. A new sense of shared identity and confidence is rising. Asian models of development and governance are gaining ground. Asia is ready to lead, not follow. China's ascendancy is the backdrop to this historic shift. Through investment, infrastructure, and non-interference, Beijing has become Asia's central economic force. The Belt and Road Initiative has physically and economically integrated the region. China's model, aid without political strings, has won deep regional loyalty. The Jakarta Declaration, while non-aligned, inevitably centers China in the new order. China is the region's largest trading partner and investor. Asian nations hope to shape China's behavior from within, not by containment. It's a risky strategy, but with US withdrawal, it's seen as the only viable path. Asia is betting on engagement, not confrontation. The Jakarta Declaration leaves the US facing its greatest foreign policy crisis since the Cold War's end. America's post-war strategy in Asia, alliances and military power, has collapsed overnight. The loss of prestige and influence is immediate and profound. The challenge to the dollar's dominance could trigger economic turmoil at home. America's privileges, financing deficits, global leadership, are under threat. Washington faces a crossroads, punitive response or pragmatic reassessment. Some will call for sanctions and military posturing, others will urge diplomacy and adaptation. The path chosen will shape global politics for a generation. The world is at a turning point. The old order is gone. A new one is being born in Asia. The US must now decide its place in this new world.